1,296,946 damage. Well, hello. Arlecchino's banner is gonna be gone in literally 30 minutes, and I suppose for anyone that doesn't watch my live stream, I should explain why I have C6 Arlecchino on Polearms Only now. The long and short, and I didn't spend money to get C6 Arlecchino. If you didn't follow my live streams, I had, you know, a couple live streams doing grinding on Polearms Only. For example, you know, I did all of the new area. I basically completely finished Inazuma in Enkanomiya, as well as here. I got like level 50 in the tree here. You can see I'm at 90% plus for, well, okay, sorry, 87% in Watatsumi and whatever, but, you know, I did a lot of exploration. I completed Chenyu Vale, not entirely, but, you know, enough to get the majority of the rewards out. Somehow I thought I was going to have to, you know, do this area, but I basically didn't touch it, which was something. Completed all the Archon quests. Like, I spent a stupid amount of time. I'm pretty sure on top of the time I spent live stream, which was like, you know, 20 hours of streams or something in less than a 2-week period, I spent at least another, I think, 40 hours off camera to get C6 Arlecchino. It was a heck of a grind. I feel like I earned it, and that was a grind just for 2 constellations because I ended up getting to C4 with the initial stupid, you know, what does X amount of dollars get you on Arlecchino's banner video. Oh, and by the way, I didn't buy this $15 top-up, someone else did during the live streams, and I'm going into Primogen debt, throwing Primogems away with resin refreshes for a future video to offset that. Anywho's point is, I didn't like make that original spending money video, right, with an intention of getting C6 Arlecchino. For me, it's just a business cost of, you know, I figured the video would do well. Like, I could make more money making that video. I could make money by spending money, right? That's all it really was. And I had to put real money on the line for the concept of the video. And I chose to do that on my Polearm Only account instead of my main account because it's a Polearm Only account. I felt like I would gain actual relative value and fun out of having Arlecchino constellations on this account compared to my main account. And I stand by that. I think it is more fun having a vertically invested Arlecchino on this account compared to my normal account. But I do feel kind of conflicted because I feel like it, you know, what was the point, right? But all in all, to try to like summarize the wishing history quick, without going into every single page, C0 Arlecchino was at Pity, was a 50-50 win. C1 and C2 Arlecchino both took 2 Pities worth because they were 50-50 losses, so it took about 300 wishes to get C1 and C2 Arlecchino. C3 Arlecchino was early, at like 40-ish pity, I believe. C4 Arlecchino was also early at like 50 pity, and that's where that video ended off. And then when I grinded, I ended up getting an early C5 50-50 win at 30 pity, and then I got another early, this is like, yeah, this is a lot of luck, right? I got another early at 50 pity, which was a 50-50 loss to, I believe, Tignari. Then I was able to grind to pity. And right at the start of soft pity, I got C6 Arlecchino with the guarantee from Tignari, which took a whole lot of grinding to get there. I feel like I earned it, personally. I am fully aware, I emphasized during my live streams at multiple points how stupid it was to like try to like go this hard into Arlecchino because what like look at my resources I have left. I have nothing left, right? And I have exhausted a good chunk of farming resources. I still have, you know, some left, whatever. In version 5.0, which is, you know, not that far away. If in version 5.0 there's a polearm 5-star, probably a pyro polearm that releases, it's probably more valuable to like try to save my resources and get like C2 of that future polearm 5-star rather than going this hard into Arlecchino, because like these 3 copies of Arlecchino really don't make that much of a relative difference. I'll be completely honest. Oh, and by the way, I think I'm kind of fine with having C6 Arlecchino on Polearms Only. There's a relatively easy way to turn it off, in that C6, like C4, C5, and C6 all are relevant for like her burst damage, increasing her burst damage, right? And oftentimes, for example, in this Shivers team, you don't really use Arlecchino's burst. You can, especially with C6, it's more relevant, but you don't really have a need to. So I can just not use Arlecchino's burst, and then also the amount of crit value that she gets from C6 is the same as a circlet, which means I can just do something like, you know, put this circlet on Arlecchino, losing the crit value, right? If you compare it to like the crit value of this piece, this is the same amount of crit value as their C6 gives, right? So I can swap from this piece to just a terrible piece, and blam, I turned off C6 Arlecchino, right? Also, this little fiery wing effect is what indicates her C6 buff is active. Anywho's point being, I can functionally turn off her C6 by not using her burst and removing her circlet functionally. And in that context, right, functionally my C6 Arlecchino becomes a C3 Arlecchino, and if I had done, you know, the same amount of wishes, the same amount of grinding, whatever, I would have been able to get C3 R1 Arlecchino without spending any money. So I'm personally fine with it because the majority of the value I got for Arlecchino's constellations on this account are stuff I could have gotten without spending any money, right? That's how I'm currently rationalizing it. I don't actually know that I would have made exactly the same decisions if, you know, I didn't do the stupid video in the first place. Point is, it was a sequence of stupid decisions that potentially affects my ability to acquire future characters significantly, right? Like, let's say by some crapshoot, the Pyro Archon in version 5.2 is a Pyro Polearm character, because I need more Pyro Polearms, obviously. You know, it's the Pyro Archon. They might have a very relevant constellations. I might only be able to save enough Primo Gems to guarantee, you know, the Pyro Archon, and maybe if I get lucky, I can get their weapon by the time that comes around. Like, that might be 6 months away, but that's still, I put so many resources into Arlecchino that it doesn't make sense, right? So I'm rambling. That's kind of the point of this video. I just want it to be an explainy video of, for anyone that didn't watch my live streams, why I did this. It was just a sequence of dumb decisions that I did for the fun of it. I really like Arlecchino. She's super fun. I enjoy playing her, and her C6 was close after that initial video because of stupidity that decisions I made for content and for gambling brain rot. And then I was just like, hey, may as well try to grind because it'd be cool to see this. And well, now I have it. So that's basically it. Hopefully that was coherent. My point is, C6 Arlecchino, not worth it, but she's fun. And that's what the rest of this video is going to be. I'm gonna try to show some fun things with C6 Arlecchino. Oh yes, fun fact, this attack percent circlet is better than this crit damage circlet. Attack circlet ends up being better because I get so much crit value from C6, but it honestly, with C6 she does so much damage it just barely does. It just doesn't matter. To demonstrate real quick here, I'll show you like the triple Kinky chamber, right? With this team, when it comes to the triple Kinkys, for example, the amount of damage Arlecchino deals is not really the determiner. I didn't need to do burst there. Is not really the determiner for how fast I necessarily clear this chamber. It's more, it's like, how well do I group the Kinkys, right? Like, blam, there's 2 Kinkys dead, and we can just use that to reset our skill. And do that. Let's do Toma burst again. Blam. Oh, I already absorbed. I didn't need to do that. Blam. Blam. Right? Like, that was 32 seconds. But ultimately, when it comes to the triple Kinkys, what makes much more of a difference is how the stupid Kinkys end up grouping themselves, right? For example, if I can hit both of them at the same time, like I am right now, I can potentially make them die a lot faster. Alright, blam. And let's just do that. That was a whopping 4 seconds faster just by, you know, being a little bit smarter at the start with their grouping. And my point with that example there is that, like, the difference maker, like how long it takes to clear the hard endgame combat, how enemies move around, and how you play your characters matters way, way, way more than, you know, how vertically invested you are in a character. Vertically investing this hard is unnecessary. It's only just something I did for the fun of it. I'm playing this account at this point just to have fun with whatever I feel like having fun with. This account is already unrelatable because, like, who plays the game like this in the first place? So my logic is it doesn't matter how relatable this account is, and I'm just going to do what I find fun. But with that said, I don't intend to spend any meaningful amount more of money on this account. I just felt like it was pointless. I would much rather do more content like grinding for constellations like I did for Arlecchino than I would spending money on the account. I wish to, you know, leave Polearms Only relatively untainted in that sense. Let's go show some shenanigans that I have found that actually do give me some amount of fun things to do with C6 Arlecchino specifically, and I'm just going to leave her on this build for simplicity. The 2 contexts where I like abusing C6 Arlecchino right now is actually with Candace to try to do a vape on both her C2 900% multiplier hit And then her C6, which is, once I get it crowned, is going to be something like an 1800% multiplier. Purveyor of Punishment. Blam. If you see my Purveyor Punishment achievement, 533,000 damage, that was actually set by Arlecchino. And I wasn't even trying to do like a nuke setup. That was 530k, not against the likes of like, you know, the Wanderer boss where you're doing nuke setups or whatever, right? So although, you know what, maybe we'll try this video and see what happens there. Where I'm going to start with this. And then I'm going to do this, this, and do that. And burst. I screwed it up. Well, there's only one enemy alive. All right, let me try that again. Okay, no, don't suck me. All right, Mika's here mostly for the attack speed increase because I think it's more relevant. All right, blam. I think there's only one alive again, but you know, nice 400k damage, and then you can kind of just repeat the loop. Blam, get frozen. That's exactly what I wanted. Blam, blam. Oh, she didn't have her burst back. That's funny. Nice 186k. If you're wondering why I'm jumping there, by the way, it's because Arlecchino applies Pyro on her charge attack, and her C2, if I wanted to get a big number, needs to react with, you know, Hydro on the enemy, for example. And if I do a charge attack, if I let it connect, it will apply Pyro, it will eat some of the Hydro from Candace, and that will make it so that, you know, I actually can't get a vape. And that's not ideal if I want to see a big number, right? That's it's a fun way to play Arlecchino, right, in this team. What is the optimal balance with her C6 of, you know, doing normal attacks between trying to vape her C6, her burst hit, and her C2, you know, extra hit after absorbing the bond? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Not when you get to this investment level. Basically, no. Mika is here because of his simplicity of, you know, doing instructor's buff. He's very low field time, and he gets a little bit of normal attack speed buff, which, you know, I definitely can feel the normal attack speed increase from Mika. So, believe it or not, Mika does do something with Arlecchino wild. This team, though, is a bit more interesting as far as actually seeing a humongous number from C6 Arlecchino. The numbers we're going to see here is going to be a little bit of cheating because of her full bond of life, but that's fine. Kind of similar to the vape team. Do that, do that, and then that. Nice. And then I basically swap out, do another round of cryo application, and I can start melting on other hits. Nice 200k there. So yeah, this team is quite satisfying. It doesn't necessarily consistently get melts in a single target context. So that's why I have to like swap out of, let's do that. All right, and then I have to swap, you know, back, do this, do that. Nice 460,000 there, right? Like, I'm not trying to like super optimize this or anything. You get the point. It can get some big damage if I set up properly. And the general idea is just, of course, to use Rosaria and Shenhe as application, and then, you know, whether it be Arlecchino that's melting or Rosaria that's melting, you know, there should be pretty significant damage going on. But again, like, how much does this actually matter when you're talking about abusing a C6 of a limited 5-star? I don't know, right? Like, it's just, again, a fun thing to do. My general solution to, you know, if I feel like C6 Arlecchino is too strong for an Abyss cycle, like she just makes it too easy, it's going to be a crazy one. I'm just going to not use Arlecchino in the Abyss if I feel like I need a challenge. I'm enjoying playing around with her C6 is kind of the little taste of a showcase there. Ultimately, this is not something I think was crazily worthwhile. I don't need to say the same thing I already said 12 times. It's just something I've done because I like the character. Like, I honestly think this is my favorite on-fielder they've released. And the main reason for that is just because, like, any context I can think of a pyro carry being useful in, Arlecchino has the versatility and flexibility to probably be configured in different contexts, right? You can configure her for teams for melt, you can, including on a normal account without constellations, right? You can configure her in vape teams, you can configure her for overload teams. I did a video about Burgeon Arlecchino, it's pretty good too. Like anywhere I can conceive of using a pyro carry, Arlecchino can do that, and a big part of that is like her flexibility with being swapped out, right? And I don't know, I really like this character. I like her on a story level. I like her, you know, art design visually. I like her kit. I like everything about this character. So, you know, when I happenstance into getting C4 because of stupid decision already, it kind of made sense to try to grind for C6. And I feel like I earned the C6 with that grind, even if a little bit of money was spent to overcome, you know, like the bad luck that I got with C1 and C2 kind of thing. Right now, I surprisingly don't regret it. And I don't think I will in the future because it feels more earned. I wanted to make this just so, you know what's going on if you're someone who's followed my Polearms Only account for a long time. I honestly don't think I'm going to make that many more Polearms Only edited videos in the future. Like, the previous Abyss video with, like, getting revenge on the Inquisitive Baptist was, I think, the last meaningful challenge I think the account might have had to overcome, right? Like now that the account has progressed to a point wherein I can overcome hard elemental checks. Like, that's what this current Abyss is. It's a pretty hard elemental check, and Polearms Only can get through that. I don't think there's any like new Abyss cycle that can overcome Polearms Only. To be clear, I might, you know, talk about like there's new endgame content that's going to happen next patch, but that new endgame content for next patch is literally impossible for Polearms Only to do because MiHoYo, well, let's be clear, they might change it, but from what I've currently seen from the version 4.7 beta, the new endgame content next patch is literally impossible for Polearms Only to do. The positive spin is at the very least, MiHoYo is adding new endgame content soon. It's just sadly not something that will benefit Polearms Only. So I don't see much point in making a ton of edited content on Polearms Only at this point. I will still play it on live streams. I will still pull for and make videos when there's new polearm units releasing. I don't know. This is not a formal end to Polearms Only, but this is a casual end in some sense to Polearms Only. Because like, what more is there to do from here? I don't know what else there is to do at this point other than just keep on polling for new polearm 5 stars and 4 stars and whatever. And when I said in my live streams, by the way, Chevriss was still more of a game changer than Arlecchino, and I maintain that even with her C6. If you were going to force me, if Chevriss was holding me at gunpoint and told me to choose between keeping her on the account and keeping Arlecchino on the account, including her C6, I would absolutely choose to keep Chevriss on the account over Arlecchino. I would delete Arlecchino C6 before I deleted Chevriss. I'm not joking. Arlecchino C6 is just a fun thing. That's all. And to end off this, you know, I'm gonna see how much damage we can get against Wanderer. I kind of hate doing nuke setups, but this boss should be, I think, relatively easy to do a nuke setup in this context. So I'm gonna tweak my builds around. Alrighty, I don't know if this is quite the maximized damage I can get from Arlecchino as far as reactions go, but I put her on Attack Goblet, EM Timepiece, Circlet, right? Not an optimized build for generalized purposes, but I think for the purpose of seeing a big old number, this will do well. So my goal here is to get Arlecchino to max Bond of Life. The tricksy things are to trigger, you know, Gilded Dreams passive. I do have to trigger a reaction with her, and then I also have to trigger a reaction with Rosaria. So I think the idea will be, once I get him down, just use Arlecchino's skill, swap to Rosaria, right? Use Rosaria. Make sure I have Zhongli's skill up hopefully beforehand. Use Shenhe Burst, and then burst with Arlecchino. Oh, and I have to, you know, do a press skill on Shenhe because she gives burst damage bonus. Doing nuke setups is always an absolute pain in the butt, though. Well, I got the max Bond of Life.
Good riddance.
Alright. So, my question with this phase is, does Arlecchino drain her bond? No, she doesn't. Perfect. Okay. Alright. Alright, we should be good. We should be good. Alright, I'm not going to be able to get Zhongli's buff up, I don't think, for Tenacity. Maybe I will. I'm not sure. Alright, do E on you. Do that. Do that. Alright. Yeah. There we go. I did it. Yeah, that was first try. I hate doing nuke setups multiple times. They're so tedious. The first try, 1.3 million damage. I don't know if that was the maximum amount of damage I possibly get out of C6 Arlecchino, right? If I'm going for a nuke setup like that. There's probably other methods with, you know, weird bounties and whatever that buff your damage insanely. But I think that's the nearest maximum I'm willing to try. Just verify that quick. Yep, 1,296,946 damage. That's there you go. C6 Arlecchino do get some damage. Unless MiHoYo adds endgame content that Polearms Only can actually play in, there's not that much more that's interesting, I feel like, personally, to just to spend effort in making content for, other than just, you know, using the account as an account to vibe on, like, doing stuff with on live streams and whatever, right? Like, I still like playing on this account. This account taught me that, like, you know, you can make the most out of unoptimal things and still succeed in this game, right? And I think that's something that's really, really awesome about Genshin. The degree to which you have creative freedom, the player has creative freedom to be able to do stupid things like pull for only polearm characters and still be successful is really awesome. I wanted to quickly mention originally that, yeah, this is kind of a pseudo endpoint for the Polearms Only series, even though it's very likely I will still make content in the future. It's just going to be more sporadic, I feel like. But it's already been sporadic, so I don't even know what I'm saying, right? If this is the only video you ever see of my Polearm Only account, and if it does become the last edited video I ever make on Polearms Only, then I feel like this is a relatively appropriate endpoint. Like, there's... How much higher can we go from here? I really don't know how much higher we can go. But it won't stop me from pulling for new polearm characters and whatever. As long as I'm still playing the game, at least. But there we go. In this case, of course, it's just Arlecchino's quite large vertical hitbox that is helping us out here. This one actually might be the most annoying one, but I think we could do something like that. Well, that's not what I intended, but that works. And do that. Yep. Even challenges like that, you can kind of figure out on Polearms Only. Anywho's, I'm just kind of rambling off. This is just how I be sometimes. This was meant to be a rambly, casual video. Feel free to, you know, let me know your thoughts if you have any ideas for ways I can, you know, do interesting things on Polearms Only. And I don't know, jump on my live streams if you want to see more of me doing shenanigans with C6 Arlecchino, because realistically, that's probably where most of it will be. I know I only really showed a touch of what it, like, you can probably do with C6 Arlecchino, but it just honestly is like, that's kind of all you can do. It's just like, you can see big numbers from Arlecchino with her C6 with her burst. That's the C6 experience. Is that worth it? Absolutely not. But is it fun? Yes. So, yeah, here we are. Bye-bye.